Hey, I'm Brody.
Hey, I'm Corey.
And we're going to be honest. So today we're going to be reviewing the new Spider-Man movie. We're here at the theater to watch it. It's going to be pretty good. What do you think?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite superheroes, but so far things haven't looked good, so we'll see.
We'll find out. See you guys after the movie.
All right.
Hey guys, we just got done at the movie theater, and now we're going to talk about it. Yeah, so Corey, what'd you think?
I actually really liked it, and I'm honestly surprised. I did not go into this expecting a whole lot. You know, there's been a lot of trial and error with Spider-Man movies, and
isn't this like the third reboot of Spider-Man?
Yeah, and
Tobey Maguire, whatever Andrew Garfield, and then whatever this kid's name is.
I like him though.
Yeah, I thought he played it really well. I thought he did. I did not go in having very high hopes. Just because the marketing of it made it seem like it was going to be just a Tony Stark movie instead of an actual Spider-Man movie, which tends to be how these Avengers and Marvel movies go. Like the last Captain America movie was actually an Avengers movie, so I thought Tony Stark was going to have a lot more screen time, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the marketing of the movie. It felt almost like they were trying to push this whole. It's actually an Iron Man film disguised as a Spider-Man film, and that's the way the trailers are cut, you know, but we can both vouch for the fact that that's not how the movie is, which we were both very happy with, because both of us were dreading this whole idea of them just using it as a marketing scheme to put Tony Stark on screen more, but...
I personally have always been a fan of Spider-Man. In fact, right above my bed, I've got the Tobey Maguire first Spider-Man movie poster, like, just framed, and it's been up on my wall ever since I was a little kid. So I had extremely high hopes every time they come out with a new Spider-Man movie, and this one, I didn't think it was going to be that good. I thought that, you know, since it was a Marvel film, they were just going to kind of roll it out like they do all the other ones, and it was just going to be a Tony Stark movie, but I think they went back to the more core of the storyline where Spider-Man is actually still learning how to be Spider-Man. He was still in high school, which I loved. He was goofy and energetic, and you could feel like you were actually like in his shoes the entire movie. It didn't feel like there was a disconnect between you and the character.
His character was very relatable in that aspect. He very much reminds both of us, I think, of what it was like to be, you know, a post-pubescent teenage boy.
Yeah.
And what also, there were certain scenes that are just extremely relatable to things that have happened to both of us in our life.
Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, we weren't the most popular kids in school, if you couldn't tell. And seeing this actor play that type of character in high school, you know, sophomore year, you know, has a crush on the popular girl, but, you know, you and your outcast friend just sort of sit alone at lunch and kind of talk about nerdy things like Legos and goofy things like that. I don't know. It felt very hit home. I could see myself in his shoes throughout the whole movie. Anytime something happened, I was stressed for the character. I don't know. I thought it was really well. The character was well done, was well developed, and the actor who played him really well. I mean, definitely played him like a 15-year-old.
Yeah, you really got that young, not really sure what I'm doing vibe. But that's what I loved about it. You know, it reminds me of when I was a teenager and when I was like, I know everything about everything. And then, you know, a couple years down the road, you're like, I knew nothing. And that's exactly, like, even though this film is so short, that's exactly how this character develops, you know. The development of his character throughout the film, like, there is an arc, there's a curve, and he learns a lot of valuable lessons. And, of course, most of those are taught by Tony, but... It's awesome, you know, to see his character progression, and it was well done.
Let's talk about the plot. What did you think of the overall story?
Oh, it was cool. I liked it. I mean, there's a couple little nitpicks I had here and there about certain things that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I mean, for the most part, if you just kind of tune those things out, honestly, you're like, this is a good story, and characters that you actually, you know, learned about and cared about. And that's something that I think a lot of Marvel movies tend to struggle with, is making sure that every character they introduce actually matters. And in this movie, they did that very well.
Yeah, I think it was well done overall. The only way we can pick out things is if we're really just nitpicking at the small details. The small details don't ruin the whole movie. They don't stick out like a sore thumb. Overall, I mean, I think it melts well together. The bad guy even, you end up developing this kind of, feeling for him, being like, man, I feel for this guy. I understand why he's doing this. He's still the bad guy, but you don't hate him.
I'm going to make a quick reference to another movie we watched recently, a movie called Astro Boy. So one of the biggest problems with that film was the lack of character development in regards to the villain. And it's the complete opposite with this film. The villain was so well developed. In fact, he's one of the first characters introduced in the film. Mm-hmm. And right away, oh, he's going to be the villain. But at the same time, you also, throughout the entire film, understand he has good motive. He has a good reason to be doing what he's doing.
I think it was really well done. I think the character choice, the actors that were hired to play those parts, phenomenal job. I don't have any qualms with that.
There were a couple characters that were kind of weird. There was one girl who kept appearing out of nowhere.
And they don't really explain who she is until the very end of the movie, but it still doesn't make sense. So there's this one girl, just kind of shows up throughout the movie. She's kind of awkward, and she's always got kind of some sarcastic comment to make.
She plays like a mysterious role. She
was almost like humor throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like comic relief.
A little bit of comic relief. The things that she said, you can laugh at them, but then you also are in the back of your mind, you're like, why is she here? What is she doing?
And it doesn't reveal it until the very end where they, say her name. She's like, oh, yeah, Michelle. And she goes, oh, well, my friends call me MJ. Mary Jane. But it doesn't make any sense because her name's Michelle. So go to MJ. And they kind of throw that in as a teaser at the very end of the movie for, obviously, the future.
I would like to believe that that's the purpose of her character and that they were definitely hinting at some kind of potential relationship between this character and Peter Parker, but you're left wondering,
yeah,
who is this character? Why should I be paying attention to her? Why is she in this film?
Let's go on to the art. I thought, going into this, I thought his suit looked really awful. And coming out of the movie, I still don't think it was the best design, but I don't think it was as bad as, the trailers made it out to be. A couple minor things didn't make sense, like the eye sockets on his mask had actual, motorized units in it to make him squint and, open back up, which I don't know, one, how the sensors would work on that, or two, what the purpose of that is. Because, Deadpool had something, where his eyes would open and close, but it wasn't motorized. It was just him scrunching up his face would make the eyes move. And every Spider-Man before it has done that. So why the need to implement these little motors?
This is a bit more mechanical approach to the suit, which I kind of get because, spoiler, the suit is designed by Tony Stark and it's a gift to him. So you get this idea that it's not actually a fabric suit, but it's, a super high-tech suit that just has technology we don't quite understand yet, I guess is, what you're supposed to kind of take from it. I kind of preferred it in the other movies where it was just the same all the time, because then he has a bit of a poker face. You don't know what you don't know what his expression is. And you just kind of have to assume that because they developed his character so well, you can interpret just from looking at him in certain scenes, that's what he's feeling right now.
And I have to say, the eyes... the solid white next to the red and the blue, it almost makes it feel fake. It makes it, I don't know, just whatever colors they picked for it, just don't give it that realistic kind of vibe. Maybe if it had been a little bit dimmer white, the reds had been a little bit more pale, maybe it would have looked more realistic if they had added more shadows, but it almost felt like a lot of the suit was CGI, even though it's not. Something else about the art, and this is less to do with the art, more to do with the concept, is his suit obviously is built by Tony Stark. So it's got all these functionalities and this inner headset, kind of like Jarvis was before he became Vision, which still doesn't make any sense. He's got this AI in his suit, and the AI is constantly oh yeah, you've got 600 different versions of your webs that you can shoot. You've got all this. You've got a tracking device. You've got a parachute. You've got this. You've got that. It's okay. At some point, you've got it's like saying a Harry Potter movie. It's how do you explain that? Magic. How do you explain that? Tony Stark clearly thought of it ahead of time, so he put it into your suit.
So I kind of made this joke on the side while we were watching the movie that Tony Stark is basically the get-out-of-jail-free card
Yes.
for Marvel movies, because it seems, for whatever reason, this man is so freaking intelligent when it comes to designing things that he can basically make anything do anything.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's very much how this suit felt. It felt like he literally implemented any possible thing that he thought could be useful.
Like, he foresaw situations that no one could possibly have foreseen to come up with this.
Yeah, and he implemented all of them into the suit for no reason. There's even one scene where, like, Spider-Man flashes, like, this red symbol of, like, his mask
like on
or
a swim
something.
shooter, he, like, shines, like, a almost bat symbol kind of thing where it's just a red circle with his eyes on it, as if, you know, he needs that when he's fighting crime. He's like, hey, look, there's my icon.
They don't explain it. It's just kind of there. And that was one thing that kind of made me go, what? Why? Why would you need that? But I guess that's a question for Tony Stark.
What did you think about the music?
Well, I'll be honest. I didn't exactly remember a whole lot of the music during the film, but at the very beginning, the opening sequence, I think it was supposed to be like a super overdone version of like the old Spider-Man theme, and like I could kind of tell that's what it was supposed to be, but it was bad. I really didn't like the intro song.
The intro song, when they were doing the Marvel flashing through, and they have all the comics and stuff like that. Well, they played Spider-Man's theme song over it, but they sped it up so fast that you can't really get into it because the beat's off, and it just didn't feel right. And we started out the film, and we looked at each other, and we were like, are you freaking kidding me? This is how you're going to start the film?
It got better.
The music definitely did get better. It went along with the story. When there was an action scene, it was good music. It wasn't overpowering. It was in the background. There were several scenes that I felt extremely connected to the character when he had like a ringing going on in his ears, like as if he just hit his head or a flashbang or explosion had gone off and his ears were ringing, and it really draws you into the character a little bit more. And I think that was really smart on the developer's part and on the music director's part to implement such a concept as everything's passing you by and you kind of have that mild concussion going on, and it draws you a little bit more into the story. I thought that was really well. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic movie. I was pleasantly surprised. I think this is easily one of the best Marvel movies that they've made. I think it's right up there with the first Iron Man movie. Very well done. And like I said, anything we say about it is just kind of nitpicking, really.
I mean, yeah, just minor details in here and there that they either didn't include or just didn't explain, and just kind of make you go, but like if you... Obviously, you're not intended to think about it too hard.
There was definitely a couple of parts that like even took me by surprise. Like,
oh yeah, the twist at the end was like,
at one point, the bad guy opens the door and you expect to see Peter Parker's girlfriend or his date, and it's the bad guy. And I guess in hindsight you can think, oh yeah, I probably should have expected that. But in the moment, the entire theater all at once went. Like, because they just didn't expect it to happen. And so we were both sitting there like, it's just such a twist there at the end, but it's so well done that you don't see it coming. And that entire next, 15 minutes, you feel stressed out for the character.
It is so tense. The way that actor was able to portray that expression in his fear and just his facial expressions were just so spot on. You felt what he was feeling. It was
I found
really
myself
intense.
sitting there being like, smile, act natural, stop that, look normal. And he was just, he was so in shock. He was in as much shock as we were, and I think it was just fantastic. That one part just really blew my mind.
If I were in his shoes at that point, I don't know what I would have done. What do you...
I thought it was really well, and then immediately after they're driving to the homecoming, and his date and him kind of are talking, and she just keeps mentioning things that is making the dad realize that this is Spider-Man, and you just feel like you're like, shut up, stop talking.
And he keeps every time she tries to like show him something or you know, say something to him, he just kind of like, yep, okay. Because he's so stressed.
And it's not like, you know, the Tobey Maguire movie where it's like, what happened? Oh, I fell off my bike and got a cut. And he's like, that's weird. I gave Spider-Man the same cut. And then they have that connection. Oh. They even made fun of that in the superhero movie where it's like, what happened? I met a girl on Craigslist. What about you? I met a guy on Craigslist. You know, they made fun of it. This was really well done because, you know, you can see them both making the connection of, oh my god, all these accumulative things coming together to the sudden realization.
And even the camera work in that particular scene where it does the shot reverse shot of like his Peter's expression and then the father's expression in his eyes in the mirror, like looking at Peter, it's like, oh, it is the greatest buildup of emotion I've seen in a long time in a film. Oh, and like it's just, oh, they did it so well.
I have to say that one is probably one of the best scenes in the whole film. And it wasn't action, it was just tense. It was very good. How would you rate the plot, 1 through 5? 5 being the best, 1 being the worst.
Plot. I'd say 4. It was really good. But, you know, there were a couple minor things here and there, and really hard to come by a perfect plot these days, so it's a solid 4.
I think I'm going to have to go with a 4 as well. There was, you know, a couple of things here and there, like, well, why wasn't Tony Stark there? Why weren't there security guards here? Why wasn't, you know, cameras on here? You know, it could have made more sense had they worked on that. Solid 4. What about the art?
Oh, okay, so this is a hard one for me, because, like him, I didn't care for the suit at all that he was wearing during the film, but later in the film, they actually show another suit that he could potentially be wearing, but he says no to it. But I'm not gonna, you know, get too much into that. But the suit looks freaking awesome, and you're like, dude, I want to see you wear that. That suit looks so cool.
Yeah.
But he never puts it on, so you're like super
like that is probably one of the coolest Spider-Man suits I've ever seen. But, oh my god! If he had put that on, that would have just made the art for the movie because it would have been like, poof. And
I don't know.
I definitely think it was cool where they had him in his one suit that Tony gave him. Then he goes back to his original suit, which was literally just sweatpants and like knee-high socks and like what looked like Crocs almost. And then the last scene is like this amazing suit that he just doesn't take. And I so hope they bring that back in one of the next movies.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to be just amazing, just fantastic. Other than his suit, I thought the villain was very well designed.
Oh, he looked cool. He looked really cool.
I thought all of the special effects, phenomenal. 4. I'm going to go with a 4.
Yeah, I'll go with a 4. I really liked everything else, and especially when it came to the special effects, it was not like an Avengers movie. It was not overdone. It wasn't oversaturated. It was like, it was tasteful.
Something I really loved about this movie is all the other Avengers movies, it's, massive destruction, massive explosions, you know, high stakes. And this wasn't high stakes. This was definitely your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, who's not all that. He's, you know, just the small town, you know, kind of individual trying to do his part and, you know, stopping bad guys.
It was, I mentioned that before, that I really liked how small scale it was. And I liked that specifically that they kept it that way because in this movie, he's still learning. It's quite obvious that he's still learning what he's doing. He's 15 years old. He has no idea what he's getting himself into.
He has no idea what his suit even does.
Exactly.
Very relatable to anyone who's, you know, been through high school, really. It's comedic, it's funny, it's fun, it's exciting, you know, and you can really relate to the character throughout the whole thing. Music, I mean, it went well with the story. I'm going to rate it a 3. It wasn't bad, it wasn't memorable, other than that one minor screw-up kind of at the very beginning before the movie actually started, but just the Marvel theme song sped up. I think the music was alright. It wasn't over the top. It was average.
Yeah, for me it was pretty much a 3 too. It's not entirely memorable, and the only thing that I do remember was the beginning sequence that I didn't like, so, I mean, for that, I'll give it a 3.
Overall, I'm going to say the movie was a 4. It did definitely exceed my expectations. I was going into the movie expecting to be disappointed and leave upset and kind of distasteful, and I left really just pleasantly surprised. I left at the ending credits with a smile on my face, and that doesn't really happen very often in some movies nowadays. So I was 4. I think it was pretty good.
Wow, all of our scores match up. Mine is a 4 too.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this film. It was very surprising that I enjoyed it as much as I did, especially him knowing me. I have a severe problem with a lot of the development things that go into making Marvel movies and marketing for them. And I have to admit, Deadpool was like a breath of fresh air for me. And then going into this, I was like, thank you. You know, it's obvious that they're actually trying to do new things and they're trying to stray away from the same pattern that they've been going with past movies, and it gives me hope for the rest of the franchise, and it makes me interested in actually wanting to go see more Marvel movies.
I really enjoyed the fact that the whole movie wasn't, you constantly asking, well, where are the other superheroes in the world? It was definitely, well, this is his area. This is what he's doing. He can take care of it. He's got it, I think it was really well done, and I do really enjoy the actor. I was iffy going into it because, from what I saw in the Captain America movie, he just seemed like a little goofy kid. And I mean, he is a goofy kid, but he plays it really well. I would definitely watch again. And if a sequel comes out, you can sure as hell bet that I'm going to be at that movie watching.
Definitely for me too. If I had to take away anything from this movie that are like honestly the best things about it are the character development and the humor. Honestly, the humor was so well done.
It wasn't over the top. It was just right.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, his best friend.
Yes.
We both related to that humor. We were like, if one of us got superpowers and we were in that situation, you can bet your butt that I'm gonna be like right next to him and be like, so can you summon a swarm of spiders? Can you do lay eggs? I mean, it's gonna be that kind of goofy best friend thing back and forth. I think it was very well over the top.
I loved it. I loved that friendship dynamic. It totally reminded me of us. So,
I definitely recommend the movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It actually came out on 7/7/17, so my birthday, which is pretty cool. I'm glad we did get to go see it while it was still on the big screen. I think it was a well spent, hour and a half, 2 hours to sit down and watch it. And I'll definitely, have a new outlook on Marvel movies. So if you guys have any recommendations for other movies for us to watch, definitely hit us up in the comments. We'll be coming out with the art portion of this video soon, so definitely stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys.